Have you been happy with the adaptation?
No, I hate it.
Let's see what it looks like then.
I liked it.
What do you have?
Well, the background of this, first of all, was Julius Schwartz, who's one of my oldest friends, who was an editor at DC Comics forever and ever. He's now the editor emeritus. Did a series of science fiction novels in graphic adaptations with Larry Niven and Bob Heinlein and Bob Block and like that. And I gave him the original shooting script of my Outer Limits segment dealing with the glass hand, which they've been showing down the hall, to do. It had additional material in it. It had additional scenes in it. It was much larger. And Julie asked me what artist I wanted to use. And I said Marshall Rogers, because Marshall Rogers had, shortly before that time, done a really brilliant series of Batman comics. They had been absolutely extraordinary in terms of design, in terms of use of color, in terms of just interior dynamics from panel to panel. And I thought he would be perfect for it. And so he was hired to do it. Now, I've gotten conflicting stories about why it is not. I don't think it's particularly good, and I'll tell you why as we go on through. This page does not demonstrate what it is about it. I don't think it's particularly good, and better than other pages. But I heard that he was not paid as much as he wanted, so he didn't do as good a job. Now, I find that a really insupportable reason for not doing your art. If you take a job, even if they pay you in pennies, if you accept the gig, God damn it, you do your best work. Doesn't matter how much you're making. If you're not happy with the payment, you don't take the job. Nobody's breaking your arm to take the job, but if you do it, you don't say, well, I wasn't paid $1, I was only paid $10, so I'm only going to do it real fast. I think that is indefensible, and I lose all respect for the artist. And that's apparently what happened with Marshall. You take the image of the man. In the story, it is clear the guy is not, he's not Superman in disguise. You know, he's not heavily muscled and like, he's just a guy. In fact, he's fairly slim. He was played by Robert Culp, who was hardly a hit. What?
Sorry, were you happy with the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits
I love it.
episode?
I love it. I mean, the things about it, I mean, the black circles around the aliens' eyes, I thought was stupid. They look like raccoons, but that's... Yeah, I'm very satisfied with it. And over the years, in fact, it won the Academy of Television named it the #1 all-time favorite a TV show that was put out on cassette. I mean, we beat out I Love Lucy. And it's a story that still excites. I walked in there yesterday for about 5 minutes and I'm watching it, and I couldn't stop watching it. It really is a terrific show.
I watched it the other night at home.
This had all of the additional material that I wasn't able to get into that segment. And it's not presented dynamically. It's very static looking stuff. The anatomy is horrible. Look at the first panel. Look at the length of that, of the guy's arm that you see as on the left. Clearly that is not anatomically correct. None of it is right, and it's very static. But do you like it?
Well, in defense of the artist, the top panel there is foreshortening, but its use of light doesn't indicate that. So I think you're leaning forward. That's why the arm is bigger.
Well, also, I mean, in terms of light, when you, if you look at us, we're lit from one side, we're dark on the other. I mean, light comes from some place. When an artist does not bother to give you an indication of where the source of light is, what you see is an artist who's being slapdash, and there's no center there. There's no control. Also, the rendering of the hand. I mean, the glass hand figures prominently in this story. It becomes literally the Deus Ex Machina. And it's presented here in
Well, so for me it's always been that play of light and dark. You always present extremely dark and extremely light, and that's not happening there.
Yeah. Also, look at the wash. I mean, even though we're looking at it on a large screen, I'm looking at the transparency here. This grotesque little purple here. I mean, that's I was not happy at all with it, and the storytelling itself. And he was working from my script. So all he had to do was draw the scenes as I had described them. I mean, I do a very complete script. I don't just do master shots. When I do a script, I tell you everything that's in the shot. I even out the music I want to be playing, which really annoys the crap out of the director. But then that's my mission in life, is to annoy the crap out of the director.
Yeah.
But you want to be a director, that's why you did that.
No, I never wanted to be a director. I think directing is an idiot chore.
It dictates so much that for a director it's impossible to
Harlan's,
deviate from your
Harlan's scripts
they're not
have
that way.
camera movements in them
No,
and stuff
they are not
that
required.
directors,
They are not.
someone
I mean,
would
only an
normally put
idiot.
in.
If you're a director, your job is to put up those vision you got. What it is says, here's my script. Here's what I saw on the screen. Use this as the model. But if there is, if I put a shot in which you got close-up, a telephone, long shot, you know, re-rack focus to the doorway beyond. The doorway opens, the woman comes in, comes across the room, you know, to the close-up of the telephone and picks up the phone. As it rings, that's foreshadowing. An audience, look, the pan shot, that is to say the camera moves across. You as an audience have been trained to understand that as that camera pans, you're going to see something when you get over to here, right? And if you get over to there and you see nothing, you say, what the hell was that shot all about? Now, how many times has that happened to you, where like people get into a car and the car drives away and the camera goes to the right to a tree with a crow in it? What the fuck was that? That's because the director doesn't understand the use of the pan shot. Cinematically, when you use film as film, you can tell a great many things because an audience has been trained pro forma to expect certain things. When I do a script, what I'm saying is these are the important elements in this scene, and here is how I see them being manifested. But you as the director, do it your way, as long as you're true to what I had in mind. I don't give a shit how you do it, that's your job. But they immediately don't do it. They say, I'm not going to let him dictate to me how to do it, even if it's a great shot. Even if it's a great idea for a shot. They automatically, no, I'm not going to do it that way, I'm going to do it the other way. Unless they're a really good director, in which case they thank you. They say, thank you, it was, you know, you really gave me a good hand to, you know, where to start.
Well, it's interesting because yesterday you were talking about the writer's important part in creating film. Right? For me, the other real creative entity is the storyboard artist, because he's the one that takes it from being a written word to being an image. And film, of course, is image.
Well, but most films are not storyboarded. Most films are not storyboarded.
But they should. They should be.
Good save.
They
Good
should
save.
be.
No,
They should be.
well, why not?
Every film that I know and every film that I've worked on has been storyboard. It's storyboard.
The only things I've ever worked on that were automatic story were like Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Irvin Allen did that endlessly, and a couple of other films. But every film that, for instance, I mean, would you storyboard a film like Driving Miss Daisy?
Yes, there was.
It was. Well, I did.
I worked on it. I told you the story. They were trying to make total.
Did I wake up in the same room I went to bed? I hung out with the people who did Driving Miss Daisy. I didn't never know storyboards. How do you know they did storyboards?
I've seen them. Metro worked on that. Metro Humour worked on that.
No, we're not confusing. We're not confusing art director's sketches of scenes like the interior of the car or the interior of the living room. They're talking about actual scenes.
They're doing it now with animatics and computers.
Well, I know they are now, but I would see no reason to storyboard a film like Usual Suspect. Oh, we haven't seen Usual Suspect.
Woody Allen, he never storyboards.
Yeah, a Woody Allen film. Well, why would you storyboard a Woody Allen film? I mean, if you know your location.
It depends on the director. It depends on the director. Some directors know what they're doing. They've got that vision, but I'm frame by frame.
I'm not arguing with him, by the way. I'm not trying to. I'm just bewildered.
But best films now are almost storyboard.
I'm going to have to sit down. Okay, let's move on.
Sorry, Harlan?
Well, in the earliest days of my writing career, because I was, you know, writing in an era when I was surrounded by science fiction writers, I had postulated this giant war, the Earth-Kaiban war, between Earth and Kaiba, and humans versus the Kaiban. And in fact, Demon with the Glass Hand is a chapter in that war, sort of. And over the years, I've done maybe 5 or 6 stories with the Kaiban mentioned. Just mentioned, otherwise they were perfectly separate stories. Kenny took Life Hutch, which was the first of those stories, and he adapted it, did such a wonderful job, that years later when he came to me, he said, look, I think we can sell these to heavy metal. Why don't you, let me see what I can do? And I said, fine. So he then sold them Life Hutch, colored it. It was a black and white version, he did it in color, sold it to them. They said, gee, we'd like more of these. So they then did another one of the Earth Kyber War stories, Run to the Stars. And in fact, we have Run to the Stars right down here as a paperback.
On special.
I'm messing up. This little paperback right here has the complete and preferred text of one of my very best stories in it, this book right here. And so this was the beginning of this whole graphic novel, where we did 5 or 6, I guess 6 of the stories, and then to unify them, I wrote a kind of a bookend idea that starts before this story, and we did them sequentially. It was a nice, it's a beautiful book, and Kenny,
He did all the rendering?
oh yeah,
It's all his work.
it's all his work. Every bit of it. The adaptations are Ken's. I mean, once he had done the script of how he wanted to adapt it, he would rough it out, and I would say, well, I don't think this scene is nearly as important as you think it is, but you can give us more on this scene here. And I worked in some ways as a director of photography, because I would say, this angle is not a good angle because you're going to have to reveal this in a moment, and that means you're going to have to shoot it back way around. We worked fairly closely on it, but Kenny and I get along real well, so there's no problem. Even though he's up in Vancouver, Canada, Vancouver, Alberta, and we're down in LA, his style got better and better as he went along. You see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, now what I was talking about earlier was that interplay of light and dark.
Yeah.
And the fact that you try and create distance by using colour.
Yeah. And look at the background, what's happening. In the background, what's happening there.
It's interesting that both of these have almost the same colour schemes.
Yeah. What's happening at the beginning of the story, what was happening is the Kyber have bombed a planet called Delta's World. And they have bombed it from 10 miles out and killed everybody, virtually everybody. There are very few people left. This guy here is a guy named Benno Talent. And Benno Talent is a drug addict, and he's a scavenger. And at the moment that the story opens, he is rifling the pockets of a shopkeeper as some people who are trying to save the planet, the partisans, come upon him as he's looting. And they grab him. And what they do is they implant a bomb in his stomach. They put a bomb in him, they turn him loose on the planet. And the bomb is going to go off after a certain amount of time. It gives them time to get away while the Kyber go hunting for him, because if he goes off, he will start a chain reaction that will destroy the entire planet. The Kyber will have nothing. And this guy, who is a coward and a thief and a looter and a drug addict, an absolutely unredeemable piece of shit, is forced to become a hero just to stay alive. And it's a wonderful story. It's always been one of my favorites. And picturing him the way Kenny pictured him, is the receding hairline and the kind of, the sunken cheeks and all. And in the background, you see the guys coming through the rubble of this store to jump him and grab him as he's looting the pockets of this shopkeeper.